G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video. And here we go with something a little bit different today. You may notice in the sport mode of Gran Turismo 7 that there is the online time trial, and that's actually been there for quite a while. It was there in GT Sport as well, but it's been significantly revamped for Gran Turismo 7 to the point where you now get quite a hefty cash reward for achieving a specific target time. It's actually getting within a percentage of the top time set by the top player, but you know, it gives you a goal time. The one on this past fortnight, I think it's going to end today as of recording this commentary, is the Honda Civic, the FK8 Honda Civic Type R from 2020 at Trial Mountain on the Sports Hard tyres. So we grab our 2020 Honda Civic Type R FK8 and slap a nice livery on it to get it prepared for the track, but the top time there, you may have caught it briefly on the top right of the screen, was a 2:10.8, and I think it gave us a target time for the gold threshold, which is what we're aiming for, is the top 3% within that time, and I think it's about 2:14.8. So we're basically going to be targeting that. I believe I can get quite deep within the gold, so we're going to essentially just go on here and see and sort of feel the vibe, see what kind of time will be acceptable to get within a reasonable amount of time. But at the end of the day, we are essentially just aiming for gold. The track here, Trial Mountain, so this is my very first lap driving this car on this track, so we just have to be really careful because I don't know the limit. I don't want to nose the car into a barrier. That would be the worst thing to do. But we open up Trial Mountain with the fast-flowing turns 1, 2 and 3, into the hairpin at turn 4, over a crest on the exit, into a very sharp right-hander at turn 5. We run it deep there. This Honda Civic, by the way, is a front-engined, front-wheel drive car. Quite a bit of power for the front wheels, so the car will understeer all over the place, and if you slam down the throttle while you're trying to turn, the front tyres break traction, and at that point the forward's momentum of the car ends up pushing it straight on. So it's very easy to understeer or power understeer out of a corner into the barrier, so you have to be very careful. We have this very long back straight. I did watch a track guide by Mr. MCA at the start of this event, and he basically said that 5th gear, keeping it in 5th all the way to the end of this back straight, is actually quicker than shifting into 6th. Even though you're hard on the limiter here, well, you're not on the limiter, but you're right up high in the rev range, you might think you want to change gear, but you definitely don't. 5th gear is faster. But we have that hairpin on the back straight, and we have this tricky section over the crest, up over the rise here, a right-hander into a little bit of a left over the crest. If you've not got the car balanced, as it goes light over the crest, you can fling off to the left-hand side as you make that left turn. Then we plunge down the hill towards this left-hand hairpin at turn 13, near the lake where the Loch Ness Monster pops out every now and then. And then we're heading down into this reprofiled final chicane here. It's not the yeet chicane as it was in the old Gran Turismo games. It's a much slower, pretty much over 90 degree left, followed by a 90 degree right out onto the back straight, or out onto the main straight, sorry. That's our first lap. We didn't crash, which is good. That's basically what I'm trying to aim for here, is to try and get up to speed without crashing, to try and kind of emulate what you do in real life, I guess. But our first lap there, our first effort, 2:16.9, it's really not a fantastic lap, but I guess for an opening register on the board, it's not bad at all. We slide through turn 1 and turn 2 there. I think, did we cut turn 2 there? Do we get a penalty? Oh, we've cut turn 3 massively there. We've gained a couple of tenths. Oh yeah, we get a 1 second penalty for ignoring the track limit. Something rather annoying about this particular track is the penalty serving zone, or the penalty gate as I like to call it, is on the front straight just before the start-finish line. So it not only ruins the lap on which you have to serve the penalty, it ruins the following lap as well. And in a long lap of over 2 minutes in this car, basically serving a penalty just essentially means you have about 4 minutes or more of pretty much useless driving. But we get past that penalty serving zone, serve the penalty. This lap had a really slow start because of that penalty, but remember we went very wide at turn 5 it was, of our first lap there, which is what that Ghost is going to be set to. We managed to nail that turn a lot better this time, and we actually gain a load of time. So we've lost a load of time at the start, but then we've gained a lot to the point where we're actually nearly half a second up. Actually, we are half a second up. Over half a second up on that previous lap there. That is going to be good enough to come across the line at the end of it for an improvement of a 2:16.4. So a lovely little 3/10 or so improvement. We're going to gain a load more time here because we didn't have to serve a penalty on this lap. Get a lot more measured through turn 1. We don't quite fling the car as aggressively through this little opening section here, and we've gained a further 0.7 of a second. Let's follow on and see how this lap develops. Get this corner nice and correct. The crest over the exit really exacerbates any wheel spin that you already get in the front engine, front wheel drive drivetrain here. We get that corner a little bit better as well, and we're going to be across this first sector split for an improvement of over a second so far. So you've just got to keep this lap under control, and we should be able to gain quite a significant portion of time towards the end of it. We might be able to get this second improvement as we exit onto the back straight. We'll fast forward to the end of it because there's not really too much to show down the back straight except for driving in a straight line, obviously. Got to nail this braking point. So easy to run deep here, but we're just about working out some braking points here, and we get on the power nice and smoothly. Uphill exit, so once again the wheel spin can be a little bit of a problem. Slight lift through that right-hander and then into the left-hander over the crest once again, where it's very easy to crash. Really nice definition of an apex on that right-hander at turn 10 as we fly down the hill. Actually, that was turn 12, my apologies. But as we fly down the hill towards turn 13, try and get a late apex here because the exit's a little bit tighter than you'd initially think, but we still get it better than we did on our previous purple lap on lap 3 there. Down into the final chicane, we're carrying a 1.4 second advantage as we managed to brake slightly later than the Ghost there. Maybe taking too much speed through that initial apex of turn 14. As we exit turn 15, we don't quite get the exit that we got on our previous lap. Oh, it's actually about even. It's actually about even, but that's 1.5 seconds over a 1.5 second improvement, and that's going to mean that this lap time is good enough for a 2:14.8. So I think that's just about on the gold target as well, but we're going to keep going because the lap was by far from perfect, and I'm beginning to think at this stage that maybe we can duck into a low 2:13 is probably where I can sit. We don't get the best opening turn 1, 2, 3 there. We've lost a couple of tenths here, but you can see we ran wide on this crucial corner out onto the back straight, and we're going to accelerate down here, and because we've got a much better exit, we're going to be gaining all the way down this straight. I'm not quite sure how long the straight is. I haven't got a number figure, but it's probably upwards of 1 kilometre long. And as we go over the crest here, right on the back of the Ghost here, we've gained a good couple of tenths. And I think, did I shift into 6th on that fast lap there, 2:14.8? I must have shifted into 6th because you saw the Ghost do a little jolt backwards, and that's why it's faster to stay in 5th, because it's just an unnecessary gear change. You don't quite meet the limiter, so the time you lose by hanging it in 5th is not equal to the time you lose by performing the gear change. But that's okay. We're neck and neck with the Ghost here, so it's almost like a race at this point. Obviously no slipstream off the back of the Ghost. That would be quite ridiculous, but as we head down here, we turn in a little bit earlier than the Ghost did that time. We get a little bit of a better exit there. Yes, we don't run out wide onto the grass, and that's the Ghost behind me. We've gained about a tenth there as we fast forward through the chicane. We managed to carry a slight improvement, about a quarter of a tenth, up to the line of another 2:14.8. But that Ghost is now going to be on the 8.22 instead of the 8.47 as we fly over turn 1 and turn 2. Let's see if we can get down into turn 3 A-OK. We managed to gain a couple of tenths there. Look at that, 4 tenths up now. So we've managed to get that first little section quite well. And as we head through here nice and close to that barrier on the right-hand side, just understanding what this car's going to do as we try and find braking points and turning points. We're still searching for really reliable ones at this stage, but as we head out onto the back straight here, that's half a second again, so we're looking to bring home a low 2:14, and I can still feel at this stage the lap is far from optimized. I'm really not carrying enough speed through all the corners because I'm just focusing on this stage I'm just focusing on how to get the car turned with the front wheel drive nature It can be quite difficult to try and work out exactly where you can get on the throttle because you understeer so much. But look at that as we exit turn 13, still over half a second up, 0.6 up there as we get a little bit of a better run down the straight, hang it in fourth, down towards the chicane, braking slightly later, gaining in the braking zone, get it stopped. Really over slow for this first apex because it's this right-hander you want to open up, so you want to carry the racing line out of the right-hander because it leads out onto a fairly lengthy main straight. But it's going to be another fair improvement here of nearly 0.7 of a second. Over 0.7 of a second, we hang it in fourth to just about the line. There's a 2:14.1, so we're getting closer and closer to perhaps our limit there. The following lap was no improvement, 2:14.3, but as we head through here, look how much I cut turn 2 there. That's just a blatant cut. And remember earlier when I said that it kind of ruins the next 2 laps. It ruins the lap on which you serve the penalty and the following lap. So I just slow right down so the game doesn't register any time gain whatsoever. I'd rather just have this 1 lap ruined than both. And I managed to avoid a penalty there. So that lap's a little bit of a cool down lap, a little bit of a reset lap to try and, you know, get back up to the pace and try and exceed that 2:14.1. We get really close to that apex of turn 5 there, which means we gain a couple of tenths through here. Let's see if we can carry this out to the back straight. Got to once again get nice and close to this apex here at turn 8. There's a load of dirt on the inside there, but it actually doesn't affect the car at all. It's simply a visual addition there. But there's 0.3, so this will dip us into the 2:13s, which is not too bad at all. That's probably within the top 3%. It's probably within the top 2% of the world, which is lovely, of course. There's a 2:13.8. We're going to watch this lap now as we head across the line. Few laps of no improvement, a 2:15, 2:14, 2:14, you know, just focusing on trying to get all the braking points correct, building up to this lap here. So we fly into turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, just lifting off the throttle, keeping it nice and gentle in 4th gear as we race up towards here, braking just before we enter the tunnel and try and get a relatively late apex here because you don't want to be turning too much on the exit because as you head over the crest with the wheel spin, you'll probably fly off to the right-hand side. So late apex, straight exit, defined apex for turn 5. Make sure you get nice and close to the barriers here. And that first sector split there, a 36.8, 3.5 tenths improvement, slightly wide off turn 7. So we're going to lose about a tenth through there. But let's see if we can get this change of direction, this transition nice and smooth out onto the back straight. And look at that, there's 2 tenths. So we did lose a little bit of time through those couple of changes of directions, lost a bit of time that we gained in that first sector, but ultimately it was 3 tenths. And by the time we got to the chicane at the end of the lap, we were still managing to carry the 3 tenths through here. Nice and slow for that first apex, remember, and then punch it out of here. Try not to graze the barrier. The car will wheel spin in 3rd gear, but we managed to carry this 3/10 improvement up towards the line for a 2:13.5. We're going to continue on here, but we run wide through turn 3. So I sort of decided at this stage, it's going to be it for this session. It's not the end of the video, of course, but that's going to be it for that session. There's a 2:13.5. That was within the gold threshold, but it was by no means anywhere near what I think I could achieve. The current world record, a 2:10.8, I can normally get within a second or two of the world record, so we're pretty much aiming now, it looks like a 2:12. So let's just see what this fastest replay does. Unfortunately, the 2:10 did not have an attached replay, but the second fastest time of a 2:11.000 did have a replay. So that's what we're going to have a look at here and see why we're sort of losing so much time in comparison to the world record pace, because we're still like 3 seconds away. So yeah, obviously quite a bit of work for me to do. But let's analyse this replay. First thing I noticed is he kept it in 5th through the opening 3 corners, and then 4th gear on the exit here to try and quell that wheel spin that you get on the exit here. 3rd gear out of this corner still though, so not quite using 4th. He does perform the gear change up to 4th, but I guess that little bit of flat out section is not long enough such that you gain time by missing a gear change by keeping it in the higher gear on the exit. But fourth gear through here, I worked that out on my own. Fourth gear through there, look how close he gets to the apex there. And as we head down the back straight, I now notice he's actually short shifting. Short shifting ever so slightly, about an 85% shift is what he's doing on this Civic Type R. I was doing the full shift. I was revving right to the end of the rev range to try and maximise the speed I get while the clutch is engaged. But yeah, he's doing the short shift, so the power must be a little bit lower than I first thought. And then on the exit of here, this surprised me. Fourth gear out of here, no wheel spin at all, but low revs as we head up the hill. But he once again avoids a gear change flat out through that little right kink of turn 10, and pretty much straight lines turn 11 into 12. Fourth gear on the exit again, so he's basically been in fourth gear all the way from the hairpin at turn 9 all the way up until turn 13. Once again, fourth gear exit. He gets on the throttle nice and early and doesn't run wide out onto the grass. Let's see what he does in terms of gears down towards this chicane. He keeps it in fourth, and then he downshifts into third for this first apex here. He doesn't use second for rotation, he simply uses third. And let's see what gear he selects as he punches it out at the final turn. Once again, third gear, as he shifts up into fourth on the exit. But I want to see his braking point, or what his turn 1, 2, 3 looks like. It's just after the start of the orange barrier on the right hand side there, and then he flies it through here, maximising the track limit, so it looks like he can go 2 wheels on the blue and white curbs, but no further. So that, especially turn 1, I think I managed to get myself a penalty there on my previous session. Turn 1, you can actually cut further than the blue and white curbing. We'll see here exactly what he does using the bonnet view that I use. Yep, 2 wheels on the blue and white. You don't want to go any further than that. And then obviously for turn 2, you don't want to end up 4 wheels on the grass, because you will activate the dirty tyres. And you don't want that heading up towards the difficult braking zone into the hairpin at turn 4 in the tunnel. But armed with brand new knowledge, we're going to have another go. We're going to jump in once again and see if we can improve on this 213.5. I was watching a 211.0, so maybe I can get within 2 seconds of that, which means I would have to dip in to the 212s. I believe somewhere in the 212s is probably my limit. I do believe I could go faster than a 212, but I think in terms of the amount of time I was wishing to spend on this, getting into the 212s is an adequate target. Well, let's see. Fly to turn 1, turn 2. Oh, we've turned in a little bit late there. And you can see what that's done. That's put us narrow for turn 3, which means that we don't quite have the exit there. And with our replay example, hanging it in 5th gear through that whole first section tells me that I do need to carry more speed in order for that 5th gear to be worth it. But this, again, is just our first lap trying the new principles that we've learned. So we're going to practice the 4th gear out of here, and I can immediately tell that's a lot better. We're not doing the wheel spin. We're not sort of sailing and sliding wide. We avoid a gear change up the hill, which is particularly crucial. And that first lap there didn't feel particularly great, but it's a 214.0, which is only about half a second off what I was able to do before, maximising what I could work out on my own. Look at that track limit through turn 2. Oh, we just cut it too much. Half-second penalty, but have a look at that time delta there. That's half a second we've gained through that opening section. Yes, I did run wide out of turn 3 and maybe gained a little bit of extra time, but it just showed me that there's a lot of time in that first sector there once you get it right. Unfortunately for me, I have to serve the penalty, which ruins not only the lap I serve it on, but also the following lap. And there's turn 1, which I think we did end up cutting beyond the blue and white curb, and there's a 1 second penalty for all the time we gained. We're going to have to serve that one, which once again ruins the lap we serve it on, which was already ruined by a previous penalty and the following lap. But that's okay. We're going to reset, have a couple of cool down laps, which is nice, and now we're just going to focus on getting all of this right. 4th gear exit out of turn 4, and then we're going to try the 4th gear exit nice and close to the apex out of turn 8, out onto the back straight. 4th gear exit out of turn 9 up towards the final sector, and then 4th gear exit through this tricky downhill, almost hairpin-like left-hand turn, and then up towards the line. Slight improvement, a 213.7, but not a personal best thus far. just improving ever so slightly. We didn't improve on the following lap, on lap 7 there. We make a little bit of a hash of this opening section, so this lap is probably ruined by poor exit out of there, and it was only a 2:14.3. But we're going to have a look and see how we get this right now, because we haven't quite been getting this section correct. Turn in nice and early. You got to commit early to that right hand. The car isn't going to grip exactly, so it's going to sort of turn a little bit. It's going to turn a little bit after you finally turn the wheel. But let's slide it in to this corner here. Oh, we've just hit the inside barrier there, and look how wide we've run. So the car just bumped a little bit wide there, and this lap here is only, it's a slight improvement at 2:13.6, but far away from the PB. We're yet to improve on the PB with the new principles. But let's stay on board for lap 10, using the same braking point as the replay driver did through here. We're 2/10 down, but let's see if we can gain on the exit by keeping hard on the throttle. We've lost a little bit of time through there, but let's see if we can slide the back end, don't hit the inside barrier, and as we head over the crest on the exit here, in which we ran wide on that previous lap there, we've managed to gain a load of time. Look at that, 4/10 up on the 2:13.6, and as we get a really nice turn 5 here, we're now half a second up. Make sure we get nice and close to this inside barrier here on the power. We were in the wrong gear, so we have a slightly late gear change up to 4th, and we're still about half a second up, nice and close to the inside of turn 8 it is, out onto the back straight. Look at that, we're gaining down this back straight, employing the short shift method that we picked up from the replay, and we're still gaining time. We're nearly 6/10 up. Now we're on a 2:13.613, that's what that delta on the bottom of the screen is comparing itself to, so if we can turn that 5.88 into a 6.13, which is not too much more of a task than what we've already done, that's a 2:12 in the bag. So we brake really late, briefly downshifting into 2nd to get some extra under rotation on those front tyres, but then upshifting to 4th for the exit. We've maybe lost a little bit of time through there, not quite getting the transition from the brake into the turn in as nice and smooth as I would like, but we get it turned really well for turn 12 here, and as we head down towards the lake, we've gained that time we lost at that hairpin, and look at that, nice and slow on this apex, but let's see if we can get this speed back on the exit a little bit wide out into the grass, and that's a little bit under half a second. We've definitely lost some time through those little consecutive corners there, but let's see what we can do through this chicane now. I know what I'm going to do, nice and slow for the left-hander, open up the right-hander, nice and close to the apex, hard on the throttle, get through the wheel spin, and look at that on the exit, use our little short shift up to 4th, and I'm going to keep it in 4th all the way up towards the line, because that might be enough to get us into the 6.13, and as we head up towards the line, there's our 2:12.9, there it is. Oh my goodness, we dipped into the 2:12s, which is all I really wanted to do there, and I immediately saw that, and after having spent probably about an hour or so, maybe an hour 15, trying to get up to speed, analysing the replay, from sitting down and turning on the game, an hour 15 later getting into the 2:12s, I wasn't too displeased with that. But there it is, 2:12.971. Interestingly, looking on our little time card here, we set our fastest sector 2 on lap 1 of that session, and then the remaining sectors, we got our fastest sector times on the last lap, and that's good enough for 719th in the world at the time setting the lap time in the top 1.6%. So by the time this time trial finishes, I'm probably going to be within the top 2%. And you can see over on the right there, it's a cheeky little 2 million credits. So for those of you that aren't quite familiar with the economy in GT7, it's a little bit difficult to try and earn some credit. So now that they're paying out a reward for this online time trial, it really gives players an incentive to actually jump in and have a go. Because initially, when these time trials were sort of implemented into GT Sport, I thought, fantastic, that's going to be great, but I never found myself wanting to actually jump into them. But now that I can get essentially 2 million credits a fortnight by just getting into the top 3%, it actually pushes me and motivates me to jump in and have a go. And even though that's a road car, front wheel drive, which I tend not to really like, long lap, lot to learn, you know, a lot of grip limited corners and difficult braking zones, transitions in and out of tunnels can also muck about with your eyesight a little bit, so it's a little bit of a tricky one, and probably not one I would have touched if there wasn't a reward. But 2 million credits, more than enough motivation. and I think that lap time that I achieved there is pretty good. Within the gold, within top 2%, so that's where we settled. But that's going to finish up this video today. If you like this style of video, let me know, because I can probably make some more of these for each time trial. They reset every 2 weeks, so maybe a fortnightly online time trial video, who knows, or maybe I can stream my efforts. Maybe people would prefer that, but let me know. But do hit the like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos and streams from me. And of course, do leave a comment, as any constructive criticism, questions and comments, it's all very much appreciated. That's going to be the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.